Good morning, everyone. Today's Sunday, September the 26th, 2021. It's another edition of the Church of Liberty. Um, Today's a special day. It's Mama's birthday. Um, we get to cook her up something nice today for her birthday. Spend a little time maybe planting some veggies in her garden for her. Um, Looking forward to that. But I want to do a quick little episode this morning. I know I haven't put out anything on a weekday since the baby's been born, but I'm really focusing on that and also been super busy with work. But we'll get back to getting more regular homestead content because that's what ultimately I would love to do is to be able to put out regular content of what I do on a daily basis here, actually living my life on the homestead full time rather than having to go to a day job to support my lifestyle. But anyways, this morning for the Church of Liberty, I wanna share something. This, as some of you know, I've been studying up on my old family history and just what it was like to live in the world um, through people that shared the same blood as me eyes all those years ago and what they faced and what they believed in. And as I said, I'm not a direct descendant of Newt, but I do come from the same bloodline ultimately. Um, and I feel like we share a lot of common values. Of course, I didn't know the man and nothing like that, but he shares in the book The State of Jones that one of his favorite passages is Acts 17:26. From one man he created all the nations throughout the whole earth. Um, and he decided beforehand when they should rise and fall, and he determined their boundaries. Um, he uh he liked this he liked this passage because Newt fought for moral values. He was a yeoman farmer. He loved his family and the land that he lived on, and he did not believe in slavery. He come out of Albert and Mason Knight. They lived right up here, close to Red Ox Ferry on Mason Creek, which was named after Mason, Albert's wife. But Albert didn't own any slaves. He would not accept any from his father, who owned many slaves. And Albert had 14 kids, I believe, Newt being one of those. And as I recall, I don't think any of Albert's sons or daughters owned any slaves. But they believed that, as this said, all from one man, he created all the nations throughout the whole earth. If you believe in Jesus and believe what Jesus stood for, as I've said many a times, we are all seen as the same in God's eyes. We are all God's creations. We are all sons and daughters of God. Um, and Jesus was all about that. He loved all people. He wanted everybody to attend his sermons. He wanted everybody to hear the word. He wanted to share the love with everyone. He was, you know, a good word to describe Jesus, one word, is love, in my opinion. So if we follow those teachings, Newt and his family believed in the same thing, and that's what he fought for, all those years ago, whenever he was conscripted into the Confederate Army. He went voluntarily, even though he was told he had to, he wasn't given a choice, but he went voluntarily the first time. But then when he found out what they were doing to his family members back at home and his neighbors, the people that he loved so much and cared for. He couldn't stomach it anymore, so he deserted and come back home, started taking care of his family and allowing them to live again because they were literally starving to death. And then the Confederate Army would come in and take, what little they had. And so he come home, started building that up, got captured by the Confederates, sent back to fight in, I think the last battle he fought in was the Battle of Vicksburg. And somewhere during that time he deserted again, and that was the last time. And then he grew this area that I live in now, Jones County, Jasper County area. He grew it into what was eventually called the Free State of Jones. They seceded themselves from the Confederacy. And yes, they sided with the Union, which in my opinion, yeah, they didn't have to do that. Maybe they could have just stood on their own moral values, but they believed ultimately what the Union was fighting for, as do I, that we can't have rich white men sitting up on a hill slave driving a bunch of other humans, whether they're black, white, brown, it doesn't matter. That's not right. That's what we fought and got away from for this country. That's why we formed this country, because even though it was black and white in Europe, but it was also, your kings and queens of the world ruled over basically everyone and made everyone their peasants and their slaves. And that's what we wanted to destroy in this country. And then it had bloomed back and it was taken back over. The South was literally an aristocracy climate. It was just a bunch of very, very wealthy, some of the wealthiest people in the world lived in Mississippi at that time, as I've said before. So you had enormous wealth, but it was a very, very small percentage, kind of like it is today. And that's why I focus so much on the things I talk about with. I'm not saying that you have to be a government hater or anything like that, but if you believe in what Jesus said and you believe in his words, then he ultimately was an anarchist, an agorist, a voluntarist, call it what you will. He said, give unto Caesar which is Caesar's, but in the back of your mind, Jesus was just saying that to appease the the Roman guards at the time, so he didn't get executed. Ultimately, they did execute him for what he was saying. Obviously, they knew what he was truly saying. They finally just got tired of trying to catch him in a lie, and ultimately just murdered him for speaking against them. And I don't think, like I said before, we don't need to do any. There's no need for violence in this confrontation. But we are in a confrontation, an information war, and as a spiritual man, as a Christian, a follower of Christ, I feel like it's my duty to stand up and speak out against all the atrocities, not one side or the other, because in reality, it's all one system that's working together. If you hadn't noticed, the left don't work without the right type situation, and it's all moving towards ultimately that same segregated system where you have ultra wealthy people and then the rest of us that are working for the ultra wealthy people. And with some of the technology now that they've got out that we've created for ourselves, they don't really need a lot of the peasants anymore. And then you start throwing in the fact that we're messing with viruses and stuff now, and creating viruses, gain of function research, all these things, and it gets kind of scary. It starts kind of sounding like maybe something you would read in the back of this book, in the book of Revelations. It starts kind of sounding a little crazy like that, and some of these prophecies that these guys were having back in those days might sound like they're coming true, but I don't think we need to fear, because if we read into the true meaning, the true in my opinion, the teachings of this book, as it says, um Paul was this was in during his trip through Greece. 1726, he was talking to the Athenians at the time, and the Athenians are a philosophical nation. They're discussing everything. They want to hear what everybody has to say, and but I'm gonna read a little bit more. It says, "So Paul, standing before the council, addressed them as follows: Men of Athens, I notice that you are very religious in every way, for as I was walking along I saw your many shrines, and one of your altars had the inscription on it, 'To an unknown God.' This God, whom you worship without knowing, is the one I'm telling you about. He is the God who made the world and everything in it. Since he is Lord of heaven and earth, he doesn't live in man-made temples, and human hands can't serve his needs, for he has no needs. He himself gives life and breath to everything, and he satisfies every need. From one man he created all the nations throughout the whole earth." So you gotta see why Newt loved that. Um, as long as you're abiding by nature, because what he just said, he gives life to everything, the whole world and everything in it. That kind of grounds you to the fact that you're just a part of nature, right? That you're not really that special, and you dang sure don't have the right to be slave driving other people. Um, every person is individually free to uh, be who they want to be, to have the pursuit of happiness. That's what America was not supposed to be a place physically. It was a concept, the ability to pursue your happiness without obstruction, and the ability to have a piece of land to really connect and to grow your world, create your little Garden of Eden is what we had in America. But it was all an idea, basically, and we've allowed that to be taken away from us. I think we have to get back to that. Um, but like I said, this book's filled with references to the fact that we're a part of this system, and rather than exploit it and to destroy it like we've been led to do for so many years, if we start thinking about the ways that we can work with nature, then a lot of the big scary problems that we have, they just kind of dissolve away. And that's what I want to focus on, and that's what I hope to continue making more and more videos about. But I hope that y'all enjoyed this one, and this uh part of Acts is kind of coincidental, because I just finished the book of the Illusion Mysteries, and if you finish out chapter 17 of Acts, it's talking about some of the Athenians became followers of Paul as he left, and one of them is Dionysus. And if you know anything about Greek mythology and what I talked about in the last time, we're right there. We are in the Illusion Mysteries part of the world now. Paul was by himself for a few weeks there before his followers got there to help him out. So maybe Paul had experienced some of that kukion, and he had reached another spiritual level at this point. I don't know. But Dionysus is a very, very big name in that part, so I just thought that was coincidental, and I'd throw that little tidbit in at the end. But anyways, we love y'all guys. Y'all give it a like, share it with somebody you think might enjoy it, and we'll see y'all next time. Take care.